Okay, welcome everybody to Brainspotting 101. I'm so excited to share this with you. I'm so excited that you're here taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule to take a moment to learn how you can connect more deeply with yourself, with your desires, and with other people that you come into contact with. I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is amazing. So we're just going to dive right in, because I know you are busy. And I'm gonna switch that. Okay, here we go. Brainspotting 101. I like to say that brainspotting gives you freedom to live life the way you want. And a lot of times, because of the way that we were raised, we often think that we have to live life the way that we should rather than the way we want. And I love that brainspotting helps you to really flip the script on that and to start getting in touch with yourself, connecting with what it is that you actually want from life so that you can start pursuing that. And it is incredible when you clear out old stories, what happens and what can shift in your life. So who here can run PowerPoint better than me? Holler, there's the button. Okay, so who am I and why do I love brainspotting? So my name is Kim Ludeman. I'm a holistic empowerment coach and brainspotting practitioner. I have been helping people change their lives, their bodies for over 10 years. I started out as a personal trainer and nutrition coach and learned a ton doing that about what works and what doesn't. And I believe that that experience has taught me so much, and I use that in my practice every day, especially when it comes to body image, nutrition, and just movement in general, and how we approach all of those things. So that's my heart and passion, is really helping people establish a life that they want to live and not one that they think they should. And there's plenty of shoulds around food and exercise, am I right? I also have had time as a personal stylist, which has also given me a lot of insight into the body image struggle, which is also a huge passion of mine. I am a doTERRA wellness advocate, which means I love oils and I use them, and I have found them to actually be effective. And so I use these with my clients. They're a big part of brainspotting, and I just love them. So I love doTERRA and all essential oils, the good ones. And I'm a brainspotting practitioner. So I have been a brainspotting client for over a year and a practitioner for about 4 months now. And you're going to hear a lot about how much I love it and how it's changed my life, saved my marriage. It has changed the way that I parent, changed the way that I eat, the way I move, everything. So it's amazing. And I'm so excited to share it with you. So that is me in a nutshell. What are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to talk about brainspotting, this crazy thing. You hear it and you're like, what is this thing? So I'm going to tell you what it is. Then we're going to talk about trauma. We're going to talk about methods used for treating trauma. Maybe you've even done some. What are the goals of brainspotting? How does it work? The most fun part. Who is it for? What are the benefits? And then if you have questions, we're going to do those. So let's dive in. So where you look affects how you feel. And this was said by Dr. David Grand, who's a PhD, and he is actually the person that discovered brainspotting. He was doing EMDR, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, and he had been working with a client for a year. And she actually was a figure skater, and she was trying to do a triple axel. I couldn't even do a single axel, but she was trying to do a triple. And she just kept hitting these mental blocks. And so he was doing EMDR, which is rapid eye movement with her, and he just stopped. And as he stopped, he noticed that her eyes wobbled. And so curious, he held that spot for her, and she processed things that she had not processed in a year of EMDR. And kid you not, guess what she was able to do the very next day? Nail the triple axel. Holy cow, has never had a problem since. The power of brainspotting was discovered and born that day. So that was in 2003 that he discovered this, and he started experimenting with his clients, shared it with other practitioners. There's now over 17,000 practitioners all over the world. It's incredible, and it's gaining speed and popularity because of its efficacy. But he discovered that where you look really affects how you feel, because stored trauma in the brain reorients where you look with your visual field. And so he was able to use where she was looking to access deeper trauma that she hadn't previously processed. Amazing. So we're going to do a little test of this. Are you ready? So I want you to think about food. I want you to think about your favorite food. I want you to think about a food that sounds so delicious, you can't help but like salivate a little bit. For me right now, that's like a big, greasy slice of pizza. Oh my gosh. What is it for you? If you want to share in the chat, I encourage you to do it. What is it that just gets your taste buds salivating? And when you think about that food, what do you notice in your body? What is your physical response to that? Maybe it's a good feeling. Maybe it's just kind of a buzz that you can feel. Maybe you literally start drooling. Maybe you feel light and happy. Sherry says lamb roast with garlic and rosemary. Ooh, yes, girl. I have some fresh rosemary if you want some. Think about that food. Notice where you feel it in your body. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to look over to the right. And I just want you to notice what happens to that good feeling as you look to the right. Does it increase, decrease, or stay the same? And as you notice, take your gaze up about 2 to 4 inches. And just notice what happens. I have a nauseous feeling as I look up and over. Notice what happens here. Drop your gaze to the floor, still looking to the right. Again, notice sensations. Okay, now we're gonna look straight ahead. So looking straight ahead, noticing that food, keeping it in your mind. Noticing if those sensations decrease, increase, or stay the same. Same idea, looking up. What do you notice here? Looking down at the floor. Again, about 2 to 4 inches should do the trick. Noticing here. Now we're going to look to the left. Notice. Notice any other body sensations that come up for you as you look over to the left. Looking up toward the ceiling or 2 to 4 inches. Noticing here. And looking down to the floor. Noticing here. And just seeing what comes up for you. What did you notice as you looked around at different points in your field of vision? If you're anything like most people, you noticed a fluctuation. If you didn't notice a fluctuation, that's okay too. That's okay. Sometimes we dissociate from our body because the feelings we've experienced are so intense, we've learned to separate ourselves from our physical experience. So if you didn't notice anything, that's okay. That's okay. But what you would have noticed or may have noticed is a shift in your feelings, different sensations coming up based on where you look. Because where you look affects how you feel. And that's the basis of brain spotting. And that's how we approach the entire technique. Isn't that fun? We'll do it again so you can experience it in a different way too. You can also, even just on your own, think about something a little less positive. You could even think of like your biggest pet peeve. Mine is when you're driving on the freeway and somebody flies up behind you and like swings around to get in front of you. My favorite is when they don't get very far. But witnessing that control struggle for that person, it just, I can feel it in my body. And depending on where you look, looking right, up, down, straight, up, down, left, up, down, you'll notice those feelings change depending on where you look. Fascinating, fascinating. So brain spotting is a relatively new form of treatment, right? We talked about it being discovered in 2003, stemming from EMDR, and it taps into the body's ability to heal in order to reduce and eliminate the impact of unresolved trauma, negative beliefs, and emotional distress. Let's read that last part again. Eliminate the impact of unresolved trauma or wounds, if you don't like the word trauma, but we'll talk about trauma in a minute, negative beliefs, and emotional distress. Holy cow, it's amazing. So brain spotting in a nutshell, because we're still talking about what the heck is this? Not quite how it works yet. We'll get there. In a nutshell, brain spotting practitioners locate your brain spot. As you process on that spot, you are literally reprocessing and releasing stored trauma and releasing the physical sensations that go with that, which especially if you have chronic pain, this is also a great way to alleviate, if not entirely relieve physical pain. Holy cow. Okay, so some other treatment modalities that have attempted or attempt to help you process and release stored trauma, there's a lot of them, but some of the most popular ones are in this somatic category, which somatic just means physical. They have a physical aspect to them, except for talk therapy, but sometimes it does. So the first one is EMDR, and this is where brain spotting was born from. It's about rapid eye movement. So you're going really, really fast. Usually there's a light bar or a practitioner moving their fingers really fast. It's really intense. And it oftentimes doesn't really get through all of the layers of the brain to the really where the stored trauma is. So it can be incomplete in that way. It also requires a longer time commitment. Neurofeedback is so cool. Tim, my husband, who's a licensed professional counselor, he did neurofeedback for a couple of years, and it's so cool how it works. But basically, electrodes are placed on your scalp, you're hooked up to a TV or computer, and your brain's literally rewired as you watch like a movie. This is really good for kids and for people that want something that's really gentle in its approach. EFT is emotional freedom technique. It involves a series of tapping on your face and your body. It's actually really cool. A quick little self-soother that you can do is, this is called your chop spot. So you can actually take your fingers, which have all sorts of nerve endings in there, and tap the side of your hand to induce a state of calm. So when you get stressed out, maybe you notice you tap your fingers. That's because you're trying to self-soothe. But you can use this. You can also tap in affirmations. It's really cool. And then there's talk therapy, which a lot of people have done, which includes counseling, coaching, therapy, anything of that nature where you're talking through your issues and struggles. And talk therapy is amazing. The sticky part is that sometimes it only gets you so far. And then you need to take that next step and really do some somatic work, some body work, which is what brain spotting does. So do you remember the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting? I can't even talk about it. I'm pregnant, mama bear, all my hormones. I can't even really talk about it. But David Grand, the founder, went to Sandy Hook and actually worked with first responders, worked with kids, worked with parents, worked with teachers, worked with staff, and did brain spotting with these individuals. And among all of the different modalities that were used at Sandy Hook, brain spotting was by far the most effective, which is amazing because it was still in its infancy at this time. But it's so powerful, and it works with children, adolescents, and adults. So cool. Okay, so the difference between talk therapy and brain spotting, that's the question that I get the most often is like, so what's different about this? When you talk, you access the cerebral cortex or the prefrontal cortex here in the brain. This is where thought and language and organization are. This is where we spend most of our time. This is where you can also get stuck on the hamster wheel of talking and talking and talking and nothing seems to change, right? But this is also where you can create really phenomenal shifts with the way that you think about things, the way that you organize information. That's here. Trauma is not accessed in the cerebral cortex. It is accessed and stored in the subcortex, which is part of the limbic system. And this whole section of your brain is where that trauma is stored. And when there's stored trauma, it will manifest in physical symptoms, especially when it's triggered. It also can cause reactive behaviors. It can cause self-destructing behaviors. Disorders are also put into that category, even though it's not a disorder, it's a response. If you have PTSD, you don't have a disorder, you have a response. And that response is one that isn't serving you because of this trauma. So by doing brain spotting, you can actually release that and heal PTSD. Amazing. So it heals throughout the layer of the brain via the eyes and using it to find brain spots. Is this making sense so far? I know I'm going quick. We have a lot to get through and I want to make sure I respect your time. So if you have questions at any point, please put them up in the chat and I will make sure to get to them at the end. Okay, so what are the goals of brain spotting? Like, what's the point? The goals of brain spotting, there's 3 main goals. And the first is to help desensitize you so that you no longer emotionally or physically react to triggers. So for example, my mom passed away when I was 19. It was awful. It was the most traumatic thing I've ever been through in my entire life. Hospitals, surgeries, cemeteries, all of it. It was awful. And every year, the month that she died, she died July 31st, 2004. And every year, July has been historically the hardest month for me. I used to take almost an entire month to grieve. And I could never remember her in a positive way. I always remembered the suffering because that trauma got triggered over and over again. And after doing brain spotting, I can talk to you about how traumatic it was, and I don't feel it. I do not have the physical sensations that used to accompany that. It's incredible. To be honest with you, I didn't even realize that it was July. Granted, there's a lot going on, but I didn't even think about the death of my mom once during the month of July. Amazing. So it desensitizes you. So if you have a traumatic event that you react to physically, maybe you were assaulted, maybe you were spanked as a child, maybe you had a house fire. I mean, there's so many different traumas that you can experience. And when you think about it, you just, even subconsciously, you have so many feelings about it. It loses the charge because as you release that, there's nothing to react to. The goal is also to get to the root cause. What is the cause of the issue? A lot of times we think, oh, well, this is the issue and this is the cause. But a lot of times the issue is not the real issue. This is the trigger issue. And it's triggering that stored trauma that's in your subconscious. We are only 7% aware of our experience. 7%. That means that 93% of you is outside of your window of awareness, yet it's still impacting the way that you show up in the world. You just don't know it. Brain spotting allows you to bring up that root cause into your awareness, reprocess and release. So cool. And then the third goal is to literally rewire your brain. So when you have trauma, the wires in your brain get crossed. And it can cause all sorts of issues, all sorts of struggles. So what we do with brain spotting, reprocess, rewire. You can actually change neural pathways in your brain. You can do this through brain spotting. You can actually physiologically change your brain. It's incredible. So that way, you are actually releasing beliefs, wounds, and trauma that are keeping you stuck in patterns of behavior that you don't want to have. All right, the process. Let's talk about it, how this thing works. So first, we find your brain spots, right? You've already noticed that where you look directly affects how you feel. So when you talk about an issue, say you want to work on, you got spanked. I got spanked with a wooden spoon when I was a kid. I want to work on that, or you can work on something that's present day too. My pet peeve of drivers on the road. You can totally start there. You can start anywhere you want to. But we activate an issue, and where you look, boom, is how we begin. We find your brain spot. We can also use, there's 3 different ways to find a brain spot. You can gaze at it, gaze spotting. You can feel it when I point it out, or I can use a pointer and find it reflexively. When you look at a brain spot, your body will react. A lot of times it's blinking. Every time you blink, you're resetting your brain. So oftentimes it's a series of blinks, or a yawn, or a shift, a twitch. It can be any number of reflexes. Once we find your brain spot, we also use bilateral music, which helps to enhance the experience by calming the prefrontal cortex, helping to quiet the chatter so that you can actually do the deeper work. So you're looking at your spot and you're processing. And sometimes we'll use little tools like these sexy goggles. So sometimes we'll do what's called one-eye brain spotting, where we use goggles or eye patches to really focus in on one eye. Sometimes we'll use multiple spots in rolling. Sometimes we'll use 3 or 4 spots. And it's all about the attunement that your practitioner has with you. And this is the part that I can't stress enough, is that whoever you choose to do brain spotting with, you have to find someone that you really connect with, that can hold the space for you really well, because that is so important. Because a lot of what you're doing, you've never done before. And you want to be with someone that has the ability to be attuned to you. Attunement is where they support you energetically during your process, guiding the process, but mostly following you. And this is a big difference between talk therapy and brain spotting, is that I'm not leading the conversation. I'm not directing you to where to go. I'm following you, because your brain and your body already know what needs to be done. They just need to be given the space to do it. And so my role as a practitioner is to hold that space for you, to provide you with a safe environment that maybe you've never had before to really process your trauma, free of judgment, free of an agenda, free of assumptions, just me supporting you. And that is so critical for anyone that you work with. And then as you're processing, sometimes it's emotional because you're noticing things. You're not rehashing, so you're not talking through. I'm not talking about my road rage. I'm not talking about being spanked. What I'm noticing is what's happening in my body. So you're looking at your spot, listening to music, just noticing what happens in your body. And physical sensations will come up because that is how the trauma is released. So I have some clients who have really big emotional responses to it, and some clients who don't. Again, it kind of depends on your level of connection to your body, and again, the practitioner that you have. If you feel safe and supported, it's easier to release. Now you release in waves. That's where we have a rise, the reprocessing, and the release. So it's like waves. Sometimes the waves are really big, sometimes the waves are really small. And you'll have those as you're processing. And that's literally your brain healing itself. Can you believe that? We are so powerful. God has given us this incredible ability to be able to release and to heal and to live life the way that we want to, and to find enjoyment from life and not feel like we are stuck forever. It's incredible. And as you release, a lot of people experience clarity, expansion, margin, calm, peacefulness, joy, sometimes sadness. It's a lot of work. And I don't want to misinterpret this either. It's a lot of work to do brain spotting as a client. I only work with the bravest of the brave and the most courageous who are willing to experience discomfort in their bodies. It's incredible. It truly is. It is hard work, but the benefits, we're not even there yet. We're going to talk about benefits. So, who is this for? You might have an idea of some people in your life who could really benefit from this, or maybe yourself, but it's for everyone. 70% of the adults in the US have experienced some type of trauma in their lives. And I think it's higher than 70, but I digress. I'm not a trauma expert, and I'm no expert on statistics at all. But 223.4 million people in the US alone, that's a lot of people. In public behavioral health, over 90% of clients have experienced trauma. And trauma is a risk factor in nearly all behavioral health and substance use disorders. Again, I don't like the word disorders, I like the word responses. But I digress. Bottom line, everyone has trauma. And we have a kind of a negative association with trauma. We think, well, that's for PTSD. That's like war vets. That's like assault victims. That's not me. I didn't have any of that happen. But it is you. Because what is the definition of trauma? Trauma is something that deeply impacts you, an event, something that leaves its mark on you. Think about when you were little, how easily your feelings got hurt, how easily you were wounded. As we grow, our tolerance for what hurts us becomes pretty high. But as children, we don't have that self-regulating ability. And so you picked up a lot of wounds. And again, if you don't like the word trauma and you're turned off by that word, wounds, you have them. They're there, whether you are conscious of it or not. This is for everyone. So this is a pretty good list right here, but these are some of the struggles and issues that can be used with brain spotting. And I'm not going to read through all of these. If you want to take a screenshot, I'll move my picture. Nope, I will do this and move it. You are welcome to take a screenshot of this. If you'd like me to send you this slide later on, I am happy to do so. But these are just, like I said, it's a pretty good list of any behavior or reaction or response right here. Any of these benefit from brain spotting. It's incredible. Maybe you can pick a few off this list for yourself or someone that you know and care about. It can also be performance related. David Grand discovered it with a figure skater and found that it improves so many things that are performance related. And this can be from athletic to academic performance. This can also be with CEOs or COOs of major companies who want to take their company to the next level. Increasing the benefits of meditation, creativity, and my favorite, public speaking skills. We also use brain spotting to help with a fear of heights. So it can also be used for phobias too. And the benefits, my favorite part. Some of the amazing things. Again, if you want to screenshot this, you are welcome to screenshot any of these slides. Let's just run through a few of these. Alleviation of anxiety and emotional distress. Right there, you sold me. Anything that helps with anxiety and emotional distress. Inner peace and joy that comes from finally resolving past trauma. I can speak to this one over and over again. Reduction in negative and irrational beliefs, improved sleep, greater resilience, improved coping skills, and the ability to handle stress. Can you believe that one? Improved concentration, enhanced creativity, improved energy levels, decrease in body pain, decrease in impulsive tendencies. I struggled with disordered eating for 20 years, and brain spotting was finally the tool that helped me stop and no longer need to restrict food. Amazing. 20 years, friends, of struggling, and brain spotting was the one thing that finally got me over the hump. I had done years of talk therapy about it. And finally, brain spotting was the key to the freedom. So I could talk about the benefits of brain spotting all day long. I would also add to this list that it gives you the ability to implement the habits and routines that you try to implement but can't seem to stick to. So if you're wanting to start moving your body in ways that feel really good, but you can't seem to get into a routine, brain spotting will help. If you want to change the way that you eat and eat foods that make you feel better, brain spotting will help. If you want to look in the mirror and like what you see, okay, like is a stretch. If you want to look in the mirror and accept what you see, or even be neutral about what you see and not hate it, Brainspotting will help you with that. The list goes on and on. What are my clients saying? My clients are incredible. Like I said, I only work with the bravest of the brave, and they inspire me every single day. They say things like having breakthrough after breakthrough, deeper connections, and bringing greater awareness about what the issues really are. Like I said, we think the issue is this, and oftentimes it's not. So the connections that can be made are incredible. Body neutrality, working through body image issues, because we get to the root cause. It is literally not about your cellulite. It is not about your rolls. It is not about your dimples and jiggle. It is not about that. It is rooted in something completely different. Improve relationships, better empathy and communication with partners, families, and friends. Setting boundaries. Being able to say, this is what I need, and to actually follow through with getting what you need. Amazing. Decreased physical pain, whether it's in session or it's afterward. Less charge. So thinking about events that were previously really upsetting and not having that same feeling. Okay, so maybe by now you're like, okay, I know at least 1,000 people that need this, and I know I sure do. If you're curious if Brainspotting is the next thing for you, I invite you to schedule a clarity call with me. What we'll do in the clarity call is we'll talk about what it is that you want to do, where you want to go, what's keeping you stuck, what hasn't worked, and what you've tried. And we'll come up with a plan to move you toward your goal. It may be Brainspotting, it may not be. Chances are it is. I'm just going to say, because it's for everyone. So if you're interested in doing that, again, screenshot right here, kim@captivatinglyconfident.com. You can email me. You can also go to my website, captivatinglyconfident.com/sessions. That's a hard word. Or you can call me or text me. I'm a really awkward phone person, so text is probably best, just to set that up. And we'll do a 30-minute or more Zoom call and make sure that we have the next best steps for you. And Brainspotting is probably it. I wish I'd found it sooner, friends. To be honest with you, I wish I'd found it sooner. I wish I'd found it sooner for my clients. I wish I'd found it sooner for my marriage. I wish I'd found it sooner for me. So I just feel real strongly about that. Okay, Q&A. I'm going to turn off the recording for this, but I want to leave you with this. May you go forth being motivated and seeking deeper connection with yourself above all else, living life on your terms, not the way you think you should. Go out there and be you bravely, my friend. If you have questions and you're watching the replay, I invite you to email me, kim@captivatinglyconfident.com. I will 100% respond to any questions that I get from this. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention and being here. You are amazing and so inspirational just for taking time out to learn more about how you can start connecting with yourself more deeply. Thanks so much.